Our first guest is a designer and writer from Logan Square. He runs an interaction design consultancy called Draft, and once wrote a book called Cadence and Slang about his field. He also once stole a bottle menu from the Hop Leaf and spent 2 years checking off the whole thing. He is not sorry about this. You can follow him on Twitter at NickD. Please welcome Nick DiSabato.
Convenience. How's it going, everybody? Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew and Eden, for making this happen. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for coming. I write a mailing list once a week for everybody that so desires to listen to me blather on about stuff. Sometimes it's about business, sometimes it's about life. We're going to do a few more of the life ones tonight. And yeah, if you want, you can sign up at nickd.org. If you really like it, I printed a bunch of zines and I'm just giving them away for free. So James, you can hold one up. You can mob me after this. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to read 3 of these letters. One of them, this one is called My Ideal Camping Journey. My partner loves camping a lot. She once returned home from a camping trip, threw down all her stuff, walked into my office, put her hands on my shoulders, yelled, "Camping!" and stormed into her room. Many of my friends love camping. In fact, I don't really know anyone who's just so neutral on camping. You are either framing your life as a series of tedious interruptions between periods when you are camping, or you are very against camping. I, on the other hand, I'm a little bit more conflicted on the process of camping. So first off, just to lay it all out there, there are many things that I love about camping. For example, bonfires. I am very fond of bonfires. They're beautiful, they warm you, you can stare at them for hours like they're a dang lava lamp. I do not know too many people who hate bonfires. Bonfires are great. Conversation. Camping is great when you can do it with close friends, and it's a terrific opportunity to bond with them and have excellent long conversations around the aforementioned bonfire. 3-hour conversations are something I really cherish in my life, and camping is full of that. Nature. Because I live in the center of a 50-mile wide, 100-mile long concrete hellhole. Come visit. Industrial design. Seriously, just go to campmore.com and click around a bit. Camping equipment has ridiculously good industrial design. It's all ultra-light, flat pack, weird materials, super practical. No detail has been spared. Aaron's 2-person 10-packs down to the size of a basketball somehow. That is incredible design. I could write a whole separate letter about how designers of my sort could learn from people who make camping equipment. Go to REI and bask in it sometime. Fire-cooked food. Real talk, if you hate cooking over an open fire, you are a monster and you should unsubscribe immediately. Or you've screwed up your food in the past, which isn't really my fault now, is it? Whiskey. Oh, sure, you can bring a handle of Jim Beam and have a good time. But you're camping. That's a good opportunity to break out the Willett Family Reserve, no? Let me tell you, Willett Family Reserve pairs excellently with bonfires. Finally, focus and relaxation. It would be very easy to trot out dozens of arguments about how your iPhone is rotting your brain. Camping time is not iPhone time. With a list that long, you would think I love camping, right? No. In fact, every time I've gone camping in the past 2 years, it has been an unfettered disaster. And meanwhile, I've spent the past several months watching Aaron camp in multiple time zones without me, and I think I'm ready to try my hand at camping again with a few small modifications. So here is my ideal camping journey by Nick DiSabato. Rent a car. Drive out to your spider-free campsite with a few close friends. Do a little hike if you're there before sundown, otherwise start a fire and cook a meal. You deserve it. Get the fire going nice and hot, get some s'mores fixins out, pass the Willett Family Reserve around, have some great conversation. Once the fire is dying down and you're all good and drunk, grab a bucket of water, extinguish the fire, and your Uber Black will then take you all to your private suites in the Four Seasons. Take a 30-minute bath in your jacuzzi, crawl into your king-size bed with 1,000 thread count Egyptian cotton sheets, and fall asleep in total darkness and silence. 10 hours later, wake up to room service, an intercontinental breakfast, and a spa treatment. Surprise! Isn't camping fun? I'm having fun. Once you're done, return to the campsite, in another Uber Black, of course. Grab a light lunch at a locally sourced farm-to-table restaurant on the way if you want, or just have room service pack some sandwiches for you. The choice is yours. Hike around the area. It's beautiful. Hills. Illinois doesn't have hills in most of the state. This nameless state does. Hooray! Head back to your spider-free campsite, start a fire, cook dinner, conversation, Uber Black, repeat until you're ready to go home. End of camping journey. 3 administrative notes. Number 1. Someone should be standing on guard to eliminate all raccoons, foxes, coyotes, bears, skunks, and other inconvenient interlopers for the entire duration of your magical camping expedition. But any guards should also be sufficiently out of your way that you don't have to look at them. Number 2, if the campsite is sufficiently remote, you may use Blade in lieu of Uber Black. Yes, there is Uber for helicopters. It is the responsibility of all of us as Americans to contemplate that there is Uber for helicopters. Number 3, the campsite should be completely cleared of spiders in advance of your arrival by any means necessary. And that's the end of that one. Thank you. This one is in 3 parts, and I'm only going to read 2 parts of it because the third one's super boring. It's called Hank Green Was Wasted on Me. Who here knows who Hank Green is? So I don't have to explain it. Okay, Hank Green, for some background, he is a YouTube video blogger who is extremely famous among teenage boys for doing like nerdy podcasting type stuff. He interviewed the president. Like, he is a gigantic deal among a certain demographic. And I had no idea who this person was. So anyway, part 1. Ants infested my house yesterday. It has happened before, especially in spring. I reckon they're foraging for food and wander into our house where there was always a lot of food. I can't blame them. I murder them all anyway. And I had to murder them quickly because, number 1, there were a lot of ants, and number 2, I was cooking lunch for my friends in 3 hours, and I didn't exactly have a burning desire to serve ants to my friends. So I went to Walgreens and got ant baits. I spent 5 minutes searching the store for where all the bug-killing stuff was, and then I spent 5 more minutes flagging somebody down to find out if they had a specific kind of different ant bait. They didn't. And then I spent 10 minutes waiting in line to check out. I did this all in the middle of when I was supposed to be doing billable work for a client, but no, I was plotting ant genocide instead. I think if you encountered noted interaction designer and published author Nicholas J. DiSabato at a Walgreens buying ant killer and we had never met previously, it would probably be a little weird. Probably all of you know of me as his letters, maybe also my book Cadence and Slang. It is incongruous to match this impression up with the mundane and boring purchase of ant weaponry. I want to be clear that I'm not complaining about this errand, though. I'm noticing it. It happened. I am pretty okay with it. I read my Instapaper queue in the checkout line. Thousands of ants died. It is our responsibility to think about those we look up to waiting in line somewhere, doing some horribly mundane task, maybe at the DMV or somewhere, and probably feeling pretty okay about it. Because what else would you do? Part 2. I was at XOXO in Portland last fall. They had food trucks outside the venue, and it was time for lunch. There was about a half-hour wait for the food truck that I wanted, so I got in line and started chatting with the other folks near me, as you do at a conference. There was one tallish fellow. He had a t-shirt with an outline of Montana on it, so I chatted with him about how I had a friend who grew up in Montana, and I visited her in Bozeman once. He lived in Missoula, and Montana chat doesn't happen to me all that often, so that was pretty nice. Then we got to talking about our jobs. He ran a channel on YouTube. Fine. I talked about my consultancy a bit. He said he was speaking a little bit later that day, and he was really nervous, and I said it was a warm and welcoming and charitable crowd, which is true. And hopefully that assuaged him a little bit. I told him he was fine. And we talked about Chicago, too, and how the weather is similar to Montana sometimes. And we got our lunch and parted ways. I didn't think much more of it. 2 hours later, he gave a good talk. I hope he was relieved when it was over. Hope I could help him a little bit. That December, I went to my in-laws for the holidays, and I was talking about the year's travels for whatever reason, and mentioned that I was stuck in a lunch line with this guy who turned out to be Hank Green for a half hour, and we were just talking about nothing in particular. And my 17-year-old brother-in-law was listening, and he is, shall we say, smack in the middle of Hank Green's target demographic. And he is normally a very, very chill guy, so that made his reaction all the better. He got up, gave me his best, like, Phoenix Wright Jacques face, like, yelled, "Hank Green was wasted on you!" Stormed up to his bedroom and slammed the door. And then 2 minutes later, from behind the door, totally impromptu, we had already, like, context switched to a different topic of conversation, and I hear, "You do not deserve Hank Green!" And he was right, though. Hank Green was completely wasted on me. But I got to treat him like a real and actual person, so, you know, hopefully I wasn't wasted on Hank Green. So that was Hank Green. This is the last one. It's about beer. I feel like that's topical. It's called Six Pack for the Kitchen. It was my birthday the other week, so my family came into town and we went out to the Publican, which is one of my favorite restaurants in Chicago. And at the bottom of their beer menu is this curious offering. It's a six-pack for the kitchen for $10. And if you order this, the folks who cook your meal get a six-pack of beer at the end of the shift, which is really cool, right? Here are the plus sides to your ordering a six-pack for the kitchen. Number one, you make your cooks happy. They work hard to prepare stuff that you really can't or shouldn't try at home. And now instead of collapsing into a heap at the end of the day, they have a reason to celebrate. Number two, the staff flags you as a generous person. Restaurants have to deal with the most horrible people in the world every single day. And you probably don't. And if you're anything like me, you've structured your career such that you are a walking, breathing, fancy restaurant attending filter of negative energy. Restaurant workers do not have this luxury, ever. But as a result, they do recognize kindness, and they treat kind people as they should be treated. Number three, the restaurant will keep a six-pack of the kitchen on the menu for the foreseeable future. Really, you want to be the kind of restaurant that attracts people who are liable to order a six-pack for the kitchen, not people who don't bother, or worse, people who complain about the inclusion on the menu. Now, here are the plus sides to your not ordering a six-pack for the kitchen. Number one, you've saved $10. End of list. Towards the end of the meal, I asked my father how many people he thought were working at the restaurant that evening, and he said, well, I see around 25 on the floor, and who knows how many are in back. So let's assume 60 people are working at the public committee, which I don't think is that far off. Really, this means you should not be ordering one six-pack for the kitchen. It means you should be ordering 10 six-packs for the kitchen, or at least praying that 9 others order six-packs for the kitchen as well. Because what do you do if only one person orders a six-pack for the kitchen during the whole shift? Who gets it? Is the management pouring little shots of beer for everybody, and they're all like, "Eek," and you're just, is that it? Is there a jovial toast to sadness in that situation? Does Lord of the Flies 2 break out, where everyone is fighting for the last drops of Schlitz in a whirlwind of bloodshed? And surely a six-pack for the kitchen doesn't just go to those who work in the kitchen. I think it's just the term, right? The service industry is hard physical work, and it's got long shifts and very little thanks for it. My servers, hosts, and managers also deserve their share of any six-pack for the kitchen. So it's a lot of people who need this, right? But the six-pack for the kitchen teaches a lesson about how to support the service industry. Like for me, I don't know about you, I figure out 20% of the bill, round up to the nearest dollar, and that's my tip. I feel like this makes up for all of the people who under-tip my service industry friends and colleagues in a way of like paying karma forward by just tipping preposterously high. But knowing that this place offers a six-pack for the kitchen as well, it allows me to give back in a different way, which, entirely apart from the food, contributes to why the Publican is one of my favorite restaurants in the city. And if I have the chance to provide a six-pack for the kitchen too, then all the better for it. And maybe someday you'll be lucky enough to order a six-pack for the kitchen too. And that's all I got. What's the timing on? We're good? All right.
Yeah, you're good.
Then we're good. All right, thank you. So I'm just going to hand it to this guy.